Bells ring. That's great. Um, Dacher Keltner is a professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Keltner is the author of Awe, the New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life, which we used as our jumping off point for our year-long reading group about awe. So what I'm going to read is sort of a mishmash of some of the writings in the book. Awe is the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. Vastness can be physical, for example, when you stand next to a 350-foot tall tree, or hear a singer's voice or electric guitar fill the space of an arena. Vastness can be temporal, as when we laugh or a scent transports you back in time to the sounds or aromas of your childhood. Vastness can be semantic, or about ideas, most notable when an epiphany integrates scattered beliefs and unknowns into a coherent thesis about the world. Vastness can be challenging, unsettling, and destabilizing. In evoking awe, it reveals that our current knowledge is not up to the task of making sense of what we have encountered. And so, in awe, we go in search of new forms of understanding. Awe begins with our miraculous eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, responding to the images, sound, scents, tastes, and touches of the wonders of life. Our sensory systems represent these encounters in neurochemical patterns that make their way to the prefrontal cortex, where we interpret the wonders of life with the symbolic systems that are language and culture. Being moved by awe triggers the release of oxytocin and dopamine, a calming of stress-related physiology, and the vagus nerve response, systems of millions of cells working to enable us to connect, be open, and explore. Being cultural animals, we turn to ever-evolving cultural systems of chanting, song, and music, painting, carving, sculpture, and design, poetry, fiction, and drama, and supernatural explanation and spiritual practice, our archives of awe, to bring others into a shared understanding of the wonders of life. But what is in the end awe? What is the end of awe? Its unifying purpose. Here's my answer. Awe integrates us into systems of life to make sense of all its webs of ideas. The epiphany of awe is that its experience connects our individual selves with the vast forces of life. In awe, we understand that we are part of many things that are much larger than ourselves.
So I'd like to share with you the different types of awe that Keltner describes, and also how I noticed it this past year in my life and became more aware of awe. Keltner defines awe as the emotion we experience when we encounter vast mysteries we don't understand. He hopes that his book will help you find more awe, as it is his belief that brief moments of awe are as good for you and your mind, body and mind, as anything you might do. So here are some of the types of awe he describes. One of them is moral beauty. It's often evoked by witnessing courage by another individual. I experienced goosebumps, which we found could be a sign that you are experiencing awe in your life. I experienced goosebumps and tears while listening to the story of Nicholas Winton. Nicholas Winton saved 669 Jewish children in the months prior to World War II. In 1988, he was interviewed on stage for the BBC program That's Life. He did not know until the end of the program that the audience was filled with the children that he had saved. They asked the audience to stand if they had been rescued by Winton, and the entire audience stood up. Thinking of the impact he had on so many lives and future lives, the children they would then be able to have, is awe-inspiring to me. Keltner describes another type of awe as collective effervescence. He describes how moving in unison stirs the awe of ritual, sport, dance, religion, and public life. For you Notre Dame women's basketball fans, I imagine you all in the stadium. Notre Dame scores the final winning point. The crowd erupts. You all jump to your feet simultaneously, cheering, and you feel you are a part of something larger than yourself. Nature or wild awe is another category defined by Keltner. You may think of the grandeur of the Grand Canyon, but you may also find awe in the quiet and peacefulness of nature. One day, when taking my then 2.5-year-old twin granddaughters for a walk, we reached a large open space. Nora looked up and reacted with a spontaneous, "Wow," upon seeing the wide, open, immense blue sky. I can only intuit how small she felt in the world at that moment as she looked up at the vastness of space. An additional category that inspires awe is music. I think we can all recall a time when listening to music or singing with others that brought on a feeling of connection. I get goosebumps whenever Karis Krasny performs the Bonnie Raitt song just like that. It's the song of a transplant recipient meeting the mother of the person whose heart he has received and telling the mother, "It was your son's heart that saved me and a life you gave us both." This song touches me because my brother-in-law is a heart transplant recipient. He's very aware to this day of the fact that someone died so that he could continue to be alive. Keltner has 4 other categories that elicit awe. They are visual design, spirituality and religion, life and death, and also through epiphany. I'm reminded of the first of our 6 current sources of inspiration when thinking of awe, and I'm quoting from our sources of inspiration now. We, as Unitarian Universalists, draw from direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. That sounds like awe to me.
That invokes goosebumps. It's awe, it's wonder, it brings joy, it brings connection. It can heal us in ways that we don't expect because it makes us feel part of something larger than ourselves. It provides lots of health benefits, and I'll get to that eventually, but I want to have Karen come and talk a little bit more about varieties of awes and delights.
So in our year-long book club, I was a reluctant adopter of awe. I thought it was too much. It was too big for me to think about everyday awe, like that's not possible. But one of our members introduced the idea of mini awe, and I really liked that because I could do mini awe. It was lovely, right? I could find a bird or something every day. And then Gail introduced a book that she had read with her book club, The Book of Delights by Ross Gay. And I became enthralled with this book and all of his writing. And poor Ken had to pretty much listen to me read the book out loud because I found it so enjoyable. And so I am an adopter strongly, maybe not of awe, but of delight, because I can find delight everywhere, every day, almost all the time. So this essay that I'm going to read, Ross Gay is a poet and gardener. That's how he always introduces himself at IU Bloomington. And this essay that I'm going to read by him really captures what I think I really loved about our little group. So this is Found Things. Among the qualities of delight I'm finding in my dalliance with it is the feeling of discovery. The sense that one has found something, been shown something, perhaps materially, perhaps spiritually, or psychically, that was previously unknown. Perhaps delight is like a great cosmic finger pointing at something. That's not it. Perhaps delight is like after the great cosmic finger has pointed at something, and that something, which in all likelihood was already there, which is why I've enlisted a cosmic finger rather than a human one, appears. Aha, or whoa, yes. For instance, when, a couple days back, I saw a husky middle-aged man pulling his roller bag down the block with wheels that sparkled, which are in the same aesthetic ballpark as the children's sneakers that do the same, I thought, whoa, yes, much the way I do when I see kids with firefly feet. Or when I learned from a Thomas Lux poem that pigs cannot look up. Aha! or when I see birds swooping through the Detroit airport, which I happen to fly through sort of regularly because I don't see them every time and I forget that I see them sometimes. I always, not almost always, always lose my shit with glee. My finger, also a kind of bird, flying from my side to point to the little tuft that just skidded into the trash can. Whoa, yes. I also noticed myself looking around, searching among the commuters for fellow compatriots of glee. I wonder if this impulse to share, the urge to elbow your neighbor, who maybe was not even your neighbor until the bird flew between you into the pipes and rafters you did not notice until you followed the bird there, is also among the qualities of delight. And further, I wonder if this impulse suggests, and this is just a hypothesis, though I suspect there is enough evidence to make it a theorem, that our delight grows as we share it.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Lynn, and Mary Alice, and Heidi, and Kathy Carr. Kathy, in particular, shared the picture on the order of service. That's not artificial intelligence. That's not colorized. That is, in fact, blue surf, phosphorescent, bioluminescent beings making the water in California electric blue. That's pretty awesome. And I want to say that I contest the mini-awe hypothesis. I believe those are awes. I think those delights are also awes, and we should celebrate and enjoy all of those awes and not worry about whether it's vast enough to count in the book. Karen ended with a quote about delight, but I think it applies to awe as well. Our delight grows as we share it. Now, unlike other parts of our life, there's a law of hedonic adaptation, which means the more often we do a thing that used to cause us pleasure, the less we get out of it, because we grow used to it, because we become jaded to it. But the more awe we experience, the more awe we can find, the more delight we can find. It creates a richer life. Every little bit makes it a little bit bigger and easier the next time. These goosebumps make it more likely to have these goosebumps, make it more likely to find goosebumps everywhere. And that's a super good thing because it has so many benefits in our lives. This idea that we're part of something larger than ourselves is an antidote to isolation and loneliness. In studies, they've seen 5 minutes a day of awe can reduce the sense of isolation and loneliness, which we know from other studies is as deadly as 2 packs of cigarettes a day. A little bit of awe every day is so good for us. It reduces inflammation. We heard about it attacking the vagus nerve. It boosts our immune system. Awe makes us healthier. 5 minutes a day. Go outside and look at green things. In Korea and Japan, they have a thing called forest bathing. And you go with a guide into the forest and you spend time looking at beautiful greenery. You spend time listening to birds and waterfalls. You spend time breathing the fresh air. Just a few minutes of a forest bath can make your life so much better. If you don't have access to a forest bath, you can go on an awe walk. It's the same thing, it's just in the United States. You go out and you pay attention to the birds, to the sounds, to the little ones near you. An awe walk is the simplest thing we can do with the most profound benefits. I commend them to you. And I want to say that 5 or 6 hearts around a table, reading the same material and finding very different, very deep connections and sharing them and looking each other in the eye and sharing our lives was perhaps the most awe-inspiring part of it. I commend that to do as well. Quilting and fabric arts this summer. Book clubs, the bad movie nights, for God's sakes. It's so much fun. Brings us together and reminds us we're part of something larger. And that's what we're about. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for being part of this book group. Thanks to you out there. Awesome. Thank you, thank you. That's enough for today.